the horrifying consequences of the Russian night attack, advances on the front line, and the upcoming robot battalions. Everything you need to know about the latest events in Ukraine. I'll tell you all about it in this episode. My name is Irina Kondrachuk, and this is TSN Online. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, watch our broadcasts, and be sure to comment on what you found most interesting. From Kharkiv and Sumy regions to Lviv and Bukovina, the Russians struck Ukraine with cruise missiles and hundreds of drones. There are dead and wounded. President Zelensky shared photos of the nighttime attack. 26 cruise missiles and 597 drones were launched at Ukraine. They weren't able to shoot down all of them, though most, 25 missiles and 319 attack drones, were neutralized by the defense forces. But there were hits on civilian infrastructure, including residential buildings. Zelensky expressed condolences to the families of the 2 people killed in Chernivtsi and once again called on partners to respond with sanctions. A day of mourning for those killed during today's Russian shelling has been declared for tomorrow in Chernivtsi. 2 people became victims of the massive Russian attack. She was 26-year-old Diana Kravchenko, who worked as a pharmacy manager. She died in her own home. Her colleagues reported this on Facebook. And also 33-year-old Svyatoslav Lazarenko, an employee of the Snydon City Council in the Ivano-Frankivsk region. The man was killed by a missile fragment right on the road while he was out on business. The number of injured has risen to 26, with 3 in serious condition. This was reported by Ruslan Zaporaniak, head of the Chernivtsi Regional State Administration. At night, the enemy struck the city and its outskirts. Fires broke out at 3 different locations at once. Residential buildings, shops, administrative buildings, and cars were damaged. It is already known that the occupiers struck Chernivtsi with 4 drones and 1 missile.
7 are currently in the hospital, 3 of whom are in serious condition, and 4 have already undergone surgery. The rest are those who received additional medical assistance both at the scene and in our medical facilities. Today, the enemy has reached our territory, our Chernivtsi region.
The massive missile and drone attack last night was mainly directed at the west of the country. Lviv, which the Russians attacked with combat drones, was simply ablaze. 2 industrial enterprises caught fire, as well as the buildings of about 24 private companies. Near one of the cities, Luchny, a slight increase in carbon monoxide levels in the air is currently being recorded. Experts advise keeping the windows closed. TSN correspondent Marichka Kuzik has more details about the massive attack on the city.
It was a restless night in Lviv, with explosions almost nonstop. This is one of the most massive drone attacks since the start of the full-scale invasion. This is Alina Stepanivna Street, and here's one of the most heavily damaged buildings. While rescuers are clearing the debris and checking if it's safe to go back inside, the residents are waiting outside. Many people ran out in whatever they were wearing. People say they were saved because they managed to get to the shelter in time.
We heard the air raid siren and went to the shelter. And then it hit, and then the explosions started. So we stayed in the shelter the whole time.
Were there a lot of people in the shelter?
A lot, really a lot. It's good that people went down and took shelter instead of staying at home.
It was loud, it was scary, it was frightening. My ears were ringing. Some shrapnel hit my leg a bit, mostly my back. But, well, we just managed to run in right on time.
There were literally 5 seconds between the second shahid.
This is what Lviv looked like in the morning, covered in smoke and with the smell of burning in the air. The most damage was in the Zalaznikny and Halitsky districts. The most serious destruction was also on Metropolitan Andrei Street, where a 3-story building in the historic district was destroyed. In total, nearly 50 buildings were damaged in several districts of the city. More than 500 windows were shattered in them. 2 industrial facilities and 19 private companies were also affected. In one of the buildings, a wall collapsed.
Work is still ongoing to eliminate the consequences of the wall collapse at one of the sites. So, the wall collapsed unexpectedly while people were there. Fortunately, no one was hurt. Right now, our units, including high-altitude workers, will be dealing with the aftermath. There are hanging slabs and dangerous elements there that need to be removed and dealt with.
It is already known that in one of the affected buildings, 15 apartments are unfit for living. 6 families were relocated to hotels, while others went to stay with relatives.
At the moment, the building is being inspected by police officers, but it is partially seriously damaged and has been destroyed. And as of now, people cannot live there.
6 people have sought medical assistance, according to the military administration. Among them is an 11-year-old boy. One of the victims was hospitalized. Marichka Kuzik, Andrei Popovic, Lviv, TSN 1+1.
A series of explosions also occurred in Kharkiv. The occupiers struck the city with 2 glide bombs and 8 drones. There are 3 injured there. The main strike hit a factory that hasn't been operating for a long time. Warehouses caught fire. Another, Shahid, struck a critical infrastructure facility. A private house was completely destroyed, and in others, the blast wave blew out the windows. The Russians launched 35 drones and 2 missiles at Lutsk. As a result of the Russian attack, one of the private houses was destroyed. It caught fire. Miraculously, there were no casualties. 4 people were killed in the Dnipropetrovsk region. 2 people burned to death in a car when the occupiers struck Synonikitsky district with a glide bomb. The Russians took the life of a young woman in the Koppel during a morning artillery shelling. 2 more people were injured, and a man who was wounded during the previous day's shelling died in the hospital. In Zaporizhia, 2 people were killed as a result of artillery strikes by the occupiers. In the village of Mala Tokmachka, the Russians claimed the life of an elderly woman, and in the Stepnohorsk community, a man. What in particular are our air defenders using to strike Russian targets? Today, the Air Force shared a video of the Skynex anti-aircraft artillery system in action. The time and place have been kept secret, but they noted that the results of the shootdowns were flawless. These unique shots capture the destruction of 7 enemy drones.
Yes.
The first long-range missiles from Germany will arrive in Ukraine by the end of this month, announced Major General Christian Ferding, who heads the Special Ukraine Task Force at the German Ministry of Defense. Deliveries will continue, reaching a high 3-digit number, added the German general, who arrived in Kiev. He assured that this would significantly strengthen Ukraine's air defense. Meanwhile, former Russian Prime Minister Sergei Stepashin is threatening German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, who announced plans to supply Taurus missiles to Ukraine. The ex-official of the aggressor state claimed that Russia knows the locations of the factories where these missiles are produced. And we have updated information from the front line. The enemy has made gains in Donetsk, Luhansk, and towards the Dnipropetrovsk direction. This is according to data from Deep State. Russian forces have captured the village of Bilohorivka in Luhansk region and the village of Zirka in Donetsk region. The occupiers have also advanced towards the town of Prasina, which is already beyond the border of Dnipropetrovsk region, and are moving towards Mazova. Another area where Russian forces continue to apply pressure is the outskirts of Pokrovsk. There, the front line has moved even closer to the city, as enemy forces have captured the village of Shevchenko, which is to the northwest of the city. In addition, the occupiers are not giving up attempts to encircle Pokrovsk itself, so they are attacking from the flank and moving towards Rodinsk, which is to the east of Pokrovsk. These are currently the hottest sections of the front, where the Russians are massing troops for offensive operations. There, the enemy carried out 45 attacks in a single day, but also suffered losses. According to preliminary data, that's over 100 killed and nearly as many wounded occupiers, according to the General Staff. More than 30 enemy assaults were also recorded in the Lyman sector. The terrorists are still trying to break through near Toretsk as well. Robots that replace soldiers on the front line in the ground forces have demonstrated how the system of ground robotic complexes is being developed in units and brigades. These platforms evacuate the wounded, lay mines, and deliver supplies. And for the first time in history, there has even been a recorded case of Russian soldiers being captured with the help of drones and robotic complexes. The video of this unique special operation was released by the 3rd Assault Brigade, which is currently stationed in the Kharkiv region. At first, the soldiers of the 3rd Brigade attacked enemy fortifications with FPV drones and ground-based kamikaze robotic complexes. And when another robot approached the destroyed dugout, the enemy announced their surrender. The surviving occupiers were guided to our lines by drones and taken prisoner. Then, our defenders took control of the cleared fortifications and the tree line. So, which robotic systems are already being used by the Ukrainian military? Find out in a report by TSN correspondent Yulia Kirienko.
Come on, big job, big job.
He is seriously wounded and seems to be holding on with his last ounce of strength. But it's enough for him to climb onto the trailer brought by the ground robotic complex. The soldier is being evacuated from the battlefield. This is one of the most impressive evacuations shown by the K-2 regiment on the front line. And it happened thanks, in particular, to this robot. The soldier in the red t-shirt is named Mikola. He survived and is currently undergoing treatment, says the soldier with a call sign Cipollino. He was one of the infantryman's rescuers.
I couldn't imagine that someone could do that with such injuries. Maybe, well, I think most likely it's the belief that someone can help you and that there's a chance. That plays a huge role in a person's emotions, in adrenaline, in hope, and so on. So yes, basically, we give a person hope for life.
Today, he brought the same ARTL system to the capital to show how these ground drones save lives.
This concept that, well, drones fight and save lives while people control them is really good. Because with these drones we provide greater, though it may sound tautological, safety for the operators. The operators stay at a distance, and the drones do all the work.
And this is the winter of 2025, in the village of Kotline, where the soldiers of the 25th Airborne are engaged in heavy fighting. Using a similar mechanism, the fighters evacuated 2 local women from under fire, saving them from death.
Our medics have arrived. They're taking them now.
Such ground-based robotic systems are truly a modern trend in warfare, say the defense forces, because they allow machines to do the work instead of people. Many of us loved playing with remote control cars as kids. Now, thanks to these kinds of robotic ground systems, you can do it for the good of the country. They save lives and have already replaced a number of professions on the front line. For example, this little guy can evacuate wounded soldiers from the front, a job that used to be done by medics. Its tiny neighbor has replaced sappers who used to deliver anti-tank mines directly to the front line. Now, this can be done thanks to a drone like this one. And another one has replaced the infantry rifleman because it's armed, and this can also be used in assault operations. And this type of force is now being developed in our armed forces. These 4 drones that TSN is showing right now each have their own names. Besides ARTL, there are also Termit, LUT, and Non-Miner. All of them are certified by the Ministry of Defense and have been operating at the front for several months now. Narrator, Non-Miner is Ruff's partner. And very soon, the 2 of them will head out together to work on the front line in the Kharkiv region. The soldier took a liking to the job while serving in infantry. Now, with his help, he will mine the approaches to our positions so that Russian equipment gets blown up on these anti-tank mines. In 2023, the soldier sappers who used to manually mine the approaches to positions were replaced by aerial drones that dropped these munitions in front of the enemy. Now, ground drones have come to assist them. And although they are still vulnerable to Russian FPVs, to avoid getting caught, Ruff is already working out a strategy for their operation.
Ruff, I drove it for 4.5 kilometers, but without a repeater. That was, well, I needed to go that far. If you lift the repeater, I think it can easily go over 10 kilometers. And in this case, its own connection isn't that noticeable. If you raise the drone to 200 meters, it won't be as visible.
Narrator, these systems are purely a Ukrainian development. There are already 60 of these certified by the Ministry of Defense, and that's only a third of all the proposals manufacturers are offering the state. The fact that Ukraine now leads the world in the development of ground-based systems has already been noticed by our partners, and they understand. Our NRCs are better adapted to modern warfare.
Andrei Moskalenko, samples of robotic systems produced abroad often don't find use in today's war with the Russian Federation. Our robotic systems are more adapted, and they quickly respond to the demands of the modern battlefield.
Narrator, accordingly, the number of units starting to work with ground robotic platforms at the front is also increasing. What used to be a novelty is now turning into platoons and companies, and in some cases, even battalions of robots. Because the main task, as the defense forces say, is to minimize human presence on the front line, which means saving more soldiers' lives. Yulia Krienko, Roman Rika, TSN 1+1.
Maria, so were you impressed by what you saw? And in your opinion, what technologies does the Ukrainian military still lack? Be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments under this broadcast on YouTube. And of course, give us a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. In the meantime, I will continue with the TSN broadcast. Trump's special representative will visit Ukraine for an extended visit. Kellogg announced that he will arrive in Kyiv as early as Monday. He shared this at the sidelines of the Ukraine Recovery Conference in Rome. According to Trump's special representative, his visit will last for a week. It should be noted that Kellogg has previously visited Ukraine, not only during negotiations on Donald Trump's peace initiatives, but also in February 2023 together with his daughter, who heads an American charity organization that helps Ukrainians. By the way, Kellogg's daughter commented several times last month on Russia's massive attacks on Ukraine. Megan Mops addressed her father on social media, saying that it seems the Russians do not want peace. A visit to a friendly dictatorship. The head of the Russian Foreign Ministry visited North Korea to discuss the war against Ukraine. In particular, Sergei Lavrov has a meeting scheduled with North Korea's top diplomat. The visit is taking place against the backdrop of reports from South Korean intelligence that Pyongyang is ready to send new military units to Russia as early as July or August. Earlier, the head of the main intelligence directorate, Kirill Budanov, stated that there has been a sharp deepening of the partnership between the aggressor country and North Korea. According to him, Pyongyang is currently supplying up to 40% of all the ammunition that Russia uses at the front, as well as ballistic missiles and artillery systems, in exchange for which it receives money and technology from Moscow despite international isolation. And that's all for me. I'm wrapping up the TSN broadcast, but I'm looking forward to your activity in the comments. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss our live broadcasts. See you soon.